Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Progress Not Perfection. I'm Joseph Murphy. This is Melissa Durham. Fuck that up. What's your last name?
This is Melissa. I'm Melissa Durham.
And our agent. Let's start over.
Yeah. Start over.
That was just horrible. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Progress Not Perfection. My name's Joseph Murphy.
I'm Melissa Durham.
And our guest today is Agent Horne with the Genesee County Probation Office.
So, Chris, let me just ask. So, will you tell everybody who you are and why you're here?
I am, my name's Chris Horne, and I am a probation agent for the Michigan Department of Corrections. But I come here as Chris Horne today. I have 20 years, almost 21 years with the department. As a probation agent, I work in Genesee County. I supervise people that are in the recovery court program, and I'm super supportive of the recovery program, or of the community. I think it's great. I think New Path's is great, and I think a lot of the other outside support is great in the community.
Recovery court is an amazing program. Gives people a second chance.
Oh, absolutely. So I've been doing recovery court for it's almost 15 years. It'll be 15 years in August, and it's been one of the most rewarding parts of my job. You know, seeing people, when they first come in, they're trying to adjust to the community. Some people are sober, some people aren't sober. Some people have a lot of time, clean time. Some people, they're trying to find it. They constantly have to reset in the beginning, and it's super rewarding to see people get their lives together and make amends with their families, and get it right.
Yeah. I do know from my participants who I work with, recovery court is pretty straightforward as long as you're doing the right thing. But if you're trying to shoot moves and stuff, it's way harder.
Yeah, we have a really good program. It's super rigorous. I know a lot of people in the beginning, it seems like it's a lot. They have individual treatment, they have group treatment, they have to call a color line every day to see if they have to drop. And a lot of people get intimidated every week. In the beginning, they have to come, and people get nervous in front of the judge.
Yeah. Every time I got in front of the judge, I got nervous.
I was nervous every time. But at least with recovery court, it does hold people accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And I know accountability was really important to me in recovery. It kept me going. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And I tell you what, I have my own struggles with alcohol that, date way back to when I was in high school, actually probably even before that. And, I really didn't realize what kind of problem I had until I started being the agent for recovery court. And I'd hear people come in, tell their stories, and I thought, wow, I've done that. I can't believe, and fortunately for myself, I was blessed enough, I never got in trouble for anything, really. So it's one of those deals where I never had a court consequence. I never had criminal, consequences, but, I'm no different than anybody else. And, this year I just got my 15-year sobriety.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, buddy.
February 19th. And I tell you what, my heart was, my heart's in recovery, and it always has been. And I tell you what, the coolest thing I got this year was a coin from my friend here. And
That's
you
awesome.
deserve it, buddy.
he remembered the day, and he ordered it before that, and he actually gave it on the day. And I tell you what,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Good job, Joe.
It's a badass coin, too.
Oh, yeah. and I tell you, the coolest part about it is everybody's journey is different. I don't really go to support meetings. I've been before, but the coolest thing about it is I know that I earned it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? No matter what my journey is and what everybody else's is. And I wouldn't tell anybody to not go to support meetings. I tell people to do what works for them. That's the biggest thing I try to do as a probation agent. And I tell you, when I first started out as an agent, I thought if you had a drug problem, you were just doomed. I mean, I really did.
Yep. I get it. I thought I was doomed too.
Me too.
The struggle's real, and that's the thing. A lot of people, it's the struggle. It's the, getting things right, finding support, and that's the coolest thing right now is I think the support community is out and about. People see that they don't necessarily have to do it one way, and it's okay to be in recovery. You know what I mean? It's actually accepted, and I think that's one of the reasons why, like 3 years ago, I didn't tell a lot of people beforehand. I actually at work I never mentioned it, and I would have never wanted my supervisor to know. I wouldn't want anybody to know because we all have off days, and quite frankly, I didn't want somebody to think I was drinking. So, I kept it to myself, and it wasn't until recovery coaches, which is probably one of the best additions we've ever had to the treatment community. And once we had recovery coaches, the MDOC actually has them, and it's probably one of the best things our management ever brought on because, I was able to see people and I could see you guys as my coworkers, so it's like, I reached out to our recovery coach that was in our office and, cause at one point in time I had thought about going to another state department and, I started thinking about all the things I use to keep my sobriety or keep myself accountable. And, she actually, listened to me, didn't treat me any different, and gave me a lot of insight. And that's so cool. I mean, it's one of those deals where it was good for me to actually have access.
Yeah, there is a lot of stigma with being an alcoholic or drug addict, SUD, AUD. There's a lot of stigma with it. I was the type of addict who was at the top of a mountain screaming, "Hey, I do drugs and drink too much." So when I got sober, I didn't care. Who knew? Because they were already see me running down the street yelling at myself, So I recover out loud, I don't care who knows it. Some people could probably tell by the way I look, but
what's crazy is being an agent. There's obviously office functions. There's all these other things, and I'm not saying everybody drinks, but alcohol is always acceptable. So it's one of those deals where a lot of times, if I was going to start drinking, it would be at a function, and my thing would be if I was going to drink, then I would drink for 3, 4, 5 days till I got sick. Really sick, and then I would stop, and then I might go months, maybe even a year. There was years I didn't drink, and then it would always come back, and it wasn't until I realized, hey, I've got an issue here that I took accountability, and I used my kids, my daughter, as my reason to get sober, and I think that with a lot of people, it's finding some reason, along with the sobriety, to stay sober.
100%. My reason when I first got sober was my son. He got put into foster care while I was in treatment, and his mom was in jail. But I later on learned that I had to get sober for myself so I could take care of my kid. But he was my reason to get. So I got to get sober, got to get him out of the system. You know what I mean? He was my first I got to do this, and then I realized I had to do it for myself.
I did the same thing. I had to get good for my kids. My sons needed me. My youngest son told me he wouldn't have anything to do with me ever again if I didn't get clean and sober. And that was my motivation. I've got a granddaughter. She was my other motivation, but I had to learn that I had to do it for me and not for everybody else. But, keeping those motivations, absolutely.
I think what's been huge for me too is, in the last few years, I've tried to grow. I work on myself, and I think everybody should work on themselves to better themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I've kind of had a spiritual awakening, and it's one of those deals where it's been really cool to go through that and be an agent and do the recovery court and see things change and see things, come back around. And it's a blessing, it's one of those deals where, and I'm able to communicate with the people I supervise, hey, what can you do to make the change? And that's the biggest thing is, getting somebody to buy in to themselves.
Yeah, that's big. Because sometimes when people come on, recovery court, drug court, they don't want to be there. They don't want to stop using, but they got caught up in the justice system.
Right.
but to sell it to them, to invest in themselves and kind of sell recovery to them, is huge. That's how you kind of win people over.
And here in Genesee County, our judge for recovery court, Judge Lashana, I mean, he is great.
Awesome guy.
Yeah, and of the almost 15 years, he's been the judge 14 years of the years I've worked there. And I tell you what, that guy's got a huge heart. He knows how things operate. He knows what he needs to say to people to get them motivated, and unfortunately, sometimes there's consequences. And, to be honest with you, that's one part of my job that I don't like these days is the consequences, and, just having to see people go through it. And, but I always communicate well with people. So they know, if the consequences are severe, that, obviously they had a huge part in that, and that's.
You're right.
I do love how MDOC has leaned more towards treatment than incarceration in a lot of aspects. 12 years ago, when I was on supervision, it was you come with a unfavorable drop, you were going to jail. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. So if you were getting high the day before, it was like, catch me if you can, I'm not coming in.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But it's completely changed now. They give people chances. I see it firsthand, and it blows me out of the water.
But that's what makes it so great, because when I was on paper, when I was on probation, in and out, I didn't have that support.
Yeah.
From, there wasn't a coach, or I can't say that there wasn't a good probation officer, because there was. But I don't think he really knew like what to say to me or what to do back
absolutely.
then. And one of the best things is back in the summer, my son ran into him at the county fair up north. And he asked my son, he's like, how's your mom? And he's like, she's great, working in the jail now. And he said, will you tell her how proud I am of her? And I mean, Ken Warner, I wish that they would get more support up north, like we do have here in Genesee County. If they could get that all over the state, it would be a beautiful thing.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is the one thing that typically is an issue. It just comes down to resources, community resources, and there are a lot of communities in the state of Michigan that just don't have the resources.
Yeah.
They just don't have. They don't have a new paths. They don't have a tri-cap. They don't have a recovery court. And there's not an understanding either. That's. A lot of people, when they start hearing about drugs or people using drugs, the main thing is lock them up. And that doesn't work. It takes somebody out of the community for a period of time, but it doesn't fix anything. I mean, it really, it leaves somebody confined to try to figure it out on their own, because some of the jails just don't really have any programming either. So
I do know Genesee County has tons of programming in the jail.
Yes, we do.
Blew me away. I mean, I worked in the jail for some of the programs and still do. There's just, I mean, it's hard to get to move your group. I do a group in the jail. It's hard to move the group to another floor because there's so many awesome programs going on.
And the community partners, everybody, people in recovery, brothers and sisters, all in recovery. We work together. Like, Joe, you might work for MDOC now. I'm still at New Path in the jail. You left me, but that's okay. Because you still call me every day. Yeah. But we're able to work together, to help people. And that's what makes it all so great, is that we do get to still work together all the way around, all the agencies, not just New Path, but, GHS, Greater Flint, everybody. We work together really good, I feel like.
GCPC, GCHC. There's a lot of acronyms.
I
love them all.
Yeah, I don't know them all.
I have encountered a couple counties that don't want the resources.
It could happen.
I mean, the thing that not in my backyard, and
Right.
it happens.
That's where the MDOC upper management, they're not that way though. I mean, obviously, they definitely convey to agents, hey, we're here to help these people, hold them accountable, but give them a chance. See what kind of resources there are, make suggestions, make referrals, and that's where in Genesee County, I mean, it's awesome because like I have Joe here, and even myself, I know a lot of stuff that goes on in the community. If I hear of stuff, if I got a housing referral or anything, I always ask people, hey, what do you need? 'Cause sometimes people feel like they're on their own. I mean, they've burned every bridge, usually by the time they come to probation. Families, they've already stepped aside, and most people just feel so condemned. It's one of those deals where, and it's awesome because in Genesee County, we do have resources. We have people that donate clothing, and we have a clothing closet in our office. And Joe's one of the biggest, he's the clothier. I told him that the other day.
I was in there this morning before I started work.
You were. I was putting away some tether equipment. You were actually in the closet.
I was. Had to spend some time to organize the clothes and organize the hygiene. We have a clothing closet that for people who get out of prison, they don't have anything. And before they make any of their appointments, I know I would love to take a shower, brush my teeth with a real tall toothbrush, real toothpaste, real deodorant, real body wash. And so, and a lot of the guys get discharged from prison in the khaki suit.
Yeah.
In the two-piece MDOC gear. And so I like to have some clothes in the parole office that they can wear outside, out of the parole office. So they're not wearing the khakis.
We do have some agents, though, that have huge hearts. We have a clerical staff. There's a lady named Anne Marie Brady that works in there. And I tell you what, she donates nonstop. There's agents over in the parole office, Mike Vance, Kyle Kendall, several others that just constantly, they make sure their people get what they need. And, it's so cool to see because years ago, I don't know if that had been acceptable amongst staff. I think people would have been like, hey, what are you doing? But those walls are down now, and it comes down to our management, basically from supervisor, from Lansing to supervisors to, the thing about it is if people get what they need, if they feel like they're being supported, they're less likely to violate. They're less likely to go back to using drugs. I have people that come to me and say, hey, I'm struggling. I never had people tell me they were struggling.
Yeah.
I knew they were struggling when they didn't show up.
Yeah.
Mom or somebody was calling saying, hey, I haven't seen them in a few days, and then trying to track somebody down isn't necessarily easy, and unfortunately the way things were used to always be set up, I mean, you just get a warrant and you'd hope the best for somebody, and now, well, with recovery court in particular, I can usually get people to come see me, and, I'm not lying to them when I'm offering them resources or I offer them someplace to go. And I tell you what, when New Paths open up to recovery housing, it's probably one of the greatest things that ever happened. It's great to see New Paths where they're at now. And it's great to see Odyssey House where they're at now. And it's great to see other programs, Serenity House and other ones where they're at. And it comes down to recovery coaches. It comes down to, as soon as the recovery coaches hit ground, a lot of validity came to stuff, because people they had somebody they could talk to, they had somebody they could reach out to, and get stuff. I mean, literally, if nothing, just talk to somebody. And that's the biggest thing, as an agent, I make myself available 7 days a week. I tell people not to text me in the middle of the night. It does happen from time to time, but I don't ever want to turn away from somebody. I might be that one person that if they get a text from me or, just a response, it may be enough to calm them down, and that's where I come from. I mean, it's one of those deals where, I always try to make myself available, and, some people may think it's over available, but, I can only imagine, thinking you have nobody, you know what I mean? And that's where I've commended Joe here several times because he's never forgotten what he went through. So he's always doing the extra thing for somebody. And I tell you what, I commend you on that, buddy.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm from Southern California, born and raised. And when I came to Michigan, I had nobody. I mean, my son's mother's aunt and uncle when I, was in New Paths as a client 12 years ago, 11, 12 years ago. They would come pick me up, and they were the only lifeline to anything I had anywhere. Because, both my parents, well, my dad was alive, my mom wasn't. But my dad's older, he was in California. There's not much he could do. He wasn't sending me cash, I'll tell you that. He's been to the rodeo once or twice before. But yeah, I didn't have anybody. And so, it's scary, getting out of incarceration and not having nothing or nobody.
Absolutely. That's why I like to put the RISE program inside the jail. When I give them that card and say, here's this phone number if you're being released and you need someone to pick you up and take you just to a holding facility, the sober facility, just to figure out what we can do with you from there. They can call somebody at midnight. There's somebody that's going to answer that phone. That 24-hour phone makes a huge difference.
It definitely does. Because when you get released from jail, they release you at 12:30, 1 in the morning. Mm-hmm. There is nothing good that's open at 1 in the morning.
Right.
So what do you go to the dope man's house? Or
exactly.
We're just going to see how they're doing. I could probably crash on his couch.
That's one thing I've never understood, and I was a deputy at the sheriff's department, and I never could figure out why. And I worked at Genesee and I worked at Lapeer County, so I'm not picking on just any jail. I don't know why they let people out at midnight. I don't know why they wouldn't set it to 6 a.m. or something, because when you put somebody out in the middle of the night,
it's a recipe for all bad.
Yeah, it's not a good thing. I mean, it's not like most people aren't just going to pick someone up.
Yeah.
If you need a ride, and then there's not a lot of places open, right. And even Myers isn't 24 hours anymore. I don't think most Walmarts are.
Since COVID, almost nothing's 24
There's nothing 24 hours. We have built relationships up in the jail. And the deputies, if they know, last week, I had a participant that she was scared because she did not want to get out at midnight. And so, I have a RISE coordinator, Deputy Mankowski. She's awesome. I went to her and I'm like, what can we do? And she had them hold her. And to be released to me the next morning, I went to New Path, got a company car, went and picked her up, and took her to sober house.
That's awesome.
I know who you're talking about.
That's awesome. And that's the way things should work, because, nobody should be out then having to worry about their own safety. Just because you were in jail doesn't mean you're a bad person. So, there's lots of good people that go to jail, unfortunately. And,
absolutely.
Usually because of their own issues, but,
every time it was definitely my issue.
But it doesn't mean that they're a criminal that, that everybody should be scared of,
To be honest, I was never a criminal. I sucked at crime.
Yeah.
But I did what I had to get back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I see it all the time.
Yeah. So do I. And now I'm on the other side, and I'm like, and I can just see it, I see somebody's rap sheet, and it's retail fraud, possession, retail fraud, stolen car, breaking and entering. I know exactly,
right.
Because that was me.
Yeah. That could be anybody,
Yeah.
That could have been me,
Yeah.
Fortunately for me, I kept things simple, you know what I mean? But
I did not keep things simple.
Me neither.
And I realize that, though, and I think that's a huge blessing, because I can empathize, you know what I mean? Like, I can see where people are coming from, and, I can also feel fortunate. I have gratitude for, like, a lot of things these days, and that includes even the bad stuff I've dealt with, and that's, having that perspective, I think, has really helped me out just in life in general.
My gratitude list is phone books long. I could go
every
on,
day.
I do my little gratitude. Gratitude meditation in the morning. I don't want to give too much of my
mojo stuff.
My mojo. But yeah, I have a little meditation in the morning. Go over things I'm grateful for, and there's a lot of things I'm grateful for.
It's kind of weird, but I listen to frequency music before I come into work.
I do too.
And I try to raise my vibration, my personal vibration. I know this stuff, some people think that that's woo-woo stuff, but literally it helps me out. It's one of those deals where that way when I come in the office, I got the right attitude. You know what I mean?
About once a week, I listen to the frequencies. It might be woo-woo, but hey, if it works, it works.
Well,
I haven't tried it.
you should
Really?
try it.
Yeah.
You
Should
can go
try it
right
out.
Go right on YouTube.
Yeah.
You can look up. I just look up frequency vibrations. The ones I really like. You know. And
There's like the God vibration. And
Yeah.
like this vibration. There's different frequencies. It's very meditation, soothing.
you can listen to them at night. You can go to sleep listening to them, and then I do, and then when I wake up in the middle of the night, I usually take my earbuds out and I put them down, and then in the morning I start again, only because I've noticed it actually really helps me. You know, it's one of those deals where I know there was times in my life where if things weren't going well in my home life or in my own personal life, I didn't necessarily take it out on people, but I was going to do a lot less.
Yeah, my wife has to sleep with the rainfall sound machine. It sounds like sizzling bacon.
Yeah.
All I can hear is sizzling bacon and 2 fans. Go the ceiling fan and the big floor fan.
That wouldn't because you and the dog snore.
I mean, I can't confirm nor deny. I think my dog snores loud.
He's coming in competition with you.
Yeah.
I've seen videos.
Yeah, my wife videotapes me and the dog and then posts
wow.
on my Facebook. How can I get any sleep? Ha ha ha.
But that's what I like about Serenity House. I mean, obviously I'm not advertising for any organization in town, but I do like they have the holistic stuff.
Yeah.
They offer it to people. I've had it done, and I tell you what, it was probably one of the best things I ever had done.
Yeah.
And I thought at first, I don't know if this is gonna work, but I had the acupuncture in my ear, the AccuDetox.
Nice.
Okay.
And when I had it done, I was having problems with my kidneys because I had kidney stones, and I tell you what, it took care of it that day.
What are those bowls, though?
I love the sound bowls.
Okay.
Man, I don't know what they're called, but I love the sounds they make. They're different frequency things.
Yeah, and I tell you what, the frequency thing, I mean, anybody that doesn't believe in that stuff, they should check it out.
I didn't believe in it. I checked it out. I'm not gonna lie, I feel refreshed after I listen to the frequencies.
Oh, absolutely, man.
It like reset. It's like a Control Alt Delete. It like resets resets your mind. Kind of like resets my stress level. If I feel high stress, like I have a presentation or I have to do something, I'll listen to some frequency stuff to kind of reset my stress, and it works like a charm.
I listened to it before I came here today, so I wasn't
Nice.
stressed, and so I'd have a clear mind. And
I was listening to a hardcore band, Sheer Terror, on the way over here.
I'm sure there was some frequency there.
Oh, there's tons of frequency.
I was actually listening to some podcasts, so
Nice. Hopefully it was ours.
I've listened to hers.
Yeah, I've listened to ours quite a few times.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just good. It's good to see people. The main thing is it's good to see people try to do things to better themselves, no matter what it is. And that's the one thing I tell people. The one thing I always have people tell me is, "Man, I wasted so much time. I'm behind." Especially once you get sober, and I tell them, "Hey, man, don't worry about the time that's already passed. Worry about now." And that's. I think
The
that's
time now
important.
is the only time that matters. Because you can't change the past, you can change your future.
Right.
I got sober at 35 and I thought, man, I'm so behind. All my friends are like chiropractors and doctors. And, well, I'm not. Everyone a bunch of people I went to school with are doing very well.
Yeah.
And I just got sober, living in a recovery house. But, I worked full time, went to school full time. I and then trying to get my kid full custody of him, all while I was in recovery housing.
Wow.
And then I got my own place, got full custody of my kid.
That's one of the coolest things I've seen with recovery housing, though, too, is that we have people that are in recovery court. They're in recovery housing. They're working. They're doing something. They're able to save money.
Yeah. Recovery housing is
Get their lives
amazing.
together. And
They do their groups, go to their meetings, see the recovery coach and therapist, and they can go to work, save money, and that's a big
That's
thing.
huge.
Yeah.
Recovery housing saved my life. I know it did. If I
too.
wouldn't have, when I got out of TRICAP, I went back up north, and it was horrible for a week. Like, I wouldn't leave the house. I wouldn't go to the gas station. I wouldn't do nothing. And I cried to my kids. I'm like, I'm sorry, Bob. I love you, but I can't stay here.
Yeah.
And I went to recovery housing in Lansing to Rise, and it saved my life because here I am today.
That's awesome.
I was in recovery housing at New Paths, And then my boss was like, "Hey man, what do you need to get your kid back?" I was like, "I need a car. I need a house or apartment with 2 bedrooms." He's like, "You can use my car, and your house will be ready next week. It's being painted right now."
Awesome.
I worked for him for years.
That's awesome.
That's
And
awesome.
I got into my house, got my kid back. Oh man,
You know, that's the one cool thing I have seen with Recovery Court is we do have several employers that they'll give people a chance, and they themselves are not in recovery,
Yeah.
but they just have a generous heart. They have a heart, you know, and then we do have people too that have been through recovery. They're recovering alcoholics or whatever, and you know, the networking process, the support groups, you know, they meet people and establish a relationship, and
Yeah.
it leads to employment, and you know, and it goes well because I mean, if somebody's working, they usually and everything's going right. I mean, it gives you less, you know, chance to relapse. You know, and that's huge. You know, it's
I was so grateful for my old boss. He's currently my friend. He's never messed with addiction, had any problems at all, and he just helped me out. I mean, anything I needed. Oh yeah, here you go. Here you
That's
go.
awesome.
And you need a job? Cool. Here's a house, a car. He even donates money to our clothing closet in the parole and probation.
yeah, that's
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Great dude.
Yeah, that's
Amazing. And he's my CPA.
that stuff's always good to hear because I mean the struggle's real, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I would not want to be just getting out of someplace nowadays. Just how expensive things are. Because
Mhm.
I mean, there was a time you could go to McDonald's or any place and it was
Yeah.
cheap. I mean, you could eat
29-cent hamburgers, 30,
Right.
35-cent or 39-cent cheeseburgers.
Not anymore.
No.
$5 a gallon for
Yeah.
gas. I remember when it was under $1.
yeah.
So do I.
The life struggle's real, right?
Yeah. And I'm from California where gas was expensive forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, funny story, when I moved to Michigan, I thought I was being scammed because who rents a 2-bedroom house for $350 a month?
Yeah.
Like, there's no way. I was paying like $1,200, for a room at the beach,
Yeah.
back in the early 2000s. When I moved out here, I mean, I was like, oh my gosh, cost of living is so cheap. I'm living here forever. Forever. Ta-da, here I am.
And you're still here.
Yeah, I'm still here, yeah.
I tell you, the one thing I've noticed in recent years is I used to just think back on the people that didn't make it, and now I notice the people that do make it, and I blame fentanyl for the people that didn't make it, but I also I actually think that fentanyl scared some people straight. You know what I mean? It got people, you got their attention. And unfortunately, but it's one of those deals where I love now that I have more people that are successful, and the drugs are still out there, but they're putting in the work, and it definitely comes down to people like yourselves.
Right.
Where I mean, I play a role, but I mean, like, I can't fix things myself, and that's where, as an agent, like, literally, if I didn't have the community out there or people that are supporting people, I mean, I'd be extremely overwhelmed, and it would be just like 15 years ago, where
And
things would be ending well,
I do want to say that you are amazing. You are an agent with compassion, and I see a lot more compassion in the parole and probation office than I have ever seen. You know what I mean?
I think some of that comes down to our management. That's
management is amazing.
We have a lot of new supervisors or newer, and obviously they were agents before, and they know what they were dealing with prior to. And I think that when they see their solutions, and it's very obvious when something's a solution. I mean, obviously, and you see it work. I mean, you grip onto it, and then you just keep refining it. You try to make it as good as you can. That's why we do our resource events in our lobby. That's why we have the clothing closet. That's why those things matter. And that's our management sees that. And that's really cool. But once again, I mean, it is that culture shift, which I don't know if it was like 5 years ago or if it was 6 years ago, but it definitely solidified once we had recovery coaches. And that's, I mean, I saw in the community, I saw everything change. New Paths changed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think New Paths really started to change when they had their sober house, but also once they did the recovery housing, and I think that a lot of that changed because even the people that were checking in at New Paths whether it was court ordered or if they were seeking help, they saw that there actually was help, and they saw that there was, some genuineness there.
Yeah.
And, but I really do believe that the recovery coaches have solidified things, you know what I mean? Because there's no more, it's not this program's better than that program or whatever. It's, hey, these are people's lives, and we're here for a purpose. And it's just cool to see people fall into their purpose, and organizations to hold themselves accountable, and that's what I see now. I see a lot of the places just 100% accountable, and that's really cool to see, it's huge. And then it's really nice when you meet with management, whether it's from New Paths, Odyssey House, Serenity House, or any of the other ones in the area. They're always looking to try to make things better, that's, and then when they have something that's better, they come to us and they're like, hey, we're offering this. Hey, we've got this. And they make it easy to make those referrals or to, because everybody wants to play a role, because they want to, obviously we got a lot of people that weren't functioning before and now they're functioning, and that's cool to see.
I was a person who was not functioning, and I am now currently functioning.
Yeah, even myself, I function higher now, and it's just because I can see the light, where before, you'd look and it was just a long, dark tunnel, and I would see, I would hear people say what their addictions were or whatever, when I first began doing back then it was called drug court, and, I was like, wow, man, that's a tough road. And nowadays we have such a high success rate,
Yeah. I've actually, there's been a lot more graduations of recovery court.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, it was few and far. This is coming from someone who, when I was in treatment, I would hear, oh yeah, I got in trouble, I got demoted a level or whatever, however it works. I was never eligible for recovery court, but now it's graduation. I always hear amazing graduations.
I was actually thinking the same thing, Joe. When I was back when I was in jail, when I was in treatment, it was, I failed this at recovery court, I failed that, I got held back, and now it's like exactly like you said, it's graduation.
Yeah,
That's a beautiful thing.
Well, a huge shout out to Bree Benham. I hope you watch this, Bree, but I tell you what,
Bree is awesome.
She literally will do what she can do to get the programming there. So it's, it's refreshing. Literally, she takes her job serious, and, she listens to suggestions, and obviously was already involved in other organizations before she started working for the county, and it's cool to see her, thrive, and when she thrives, we all thrive. And
for the people who don't know, who is Bree?
So Bree is the specialty courts director, and she does the recovery court, veterans court, mental health court. I'm not sure in the other ones. I know I know they were trying to do I don't know if she has anything to do with the sobriety court, but I know that she was trying to set something up for juveniles too. So just recently, and it's super cool. She knows how to write grants, and obviously, like, she's out communicating with people, and she's at court every week. She was seeing clients for the longest time.
I know. And a couple months back, me and my son went to go see Bert Kreischer, and Bree was like 4 seats behind me, a couple people back.
She's a plain human?
Yes, she was texting me, oh my gosh, I saw you and your son on the big screen.
That's awesome.
Because me and my son were front row, and Bert was talking to us.
Did I tell
she
you?
was right behind me, texting me, I see you on the big screen. That was hilarious.
That's awesome. It's about what's best.
Exactly.
And then sometimes people have burned the bridges at other places, or even in New Paths. And I've seen second and third chances, and which is nice to see too, because sometimes people are at different phases of their life first time around.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to see. Okay, well, we'll give them a shot, and then it's really, really cool when the person gets that shot and they do a great job.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's.
I know I've definitely burned some bridges in my day, but New Paths gave me a shot. Got transported in shackles from the jail to New Paths, and look at me now. I think I'm doing okay.
Oh, you're doing awesome. I tell you every morning, don't I?
You do.
I send you text him out even on Fridays. I'll be like, Joe, you're doing a great job. Love you, buddy.
Yeah.
My relationship with you has been huge. And I tell you, when you popped on scene at my office, last summer, I figured it was going to be a good fit, and literally you have proven yourself time and time and time and time again. And I always tell you that because for a long time, I didn't tell people that stuff. I would just be like, that's kind of corny. I shouldn't do that. And now my perspective is, no, I'm going to tell people because it's would I complain, right? So if I was going to complain about something, I always just said it, right? So now I don't usually complain, and I've just flipped it the other way. And I think that comes down to like this gratitude,
Yeah.
and it's a gratitude attitude, right?
Changing your perspective.
Absolutely. And I tell you what, when you tell somebody they do a good job, when I tell you you do a good job, you feel good about it, right?
I feel great.
Yeah.
Even if I'm having a crap morning.
And I'm not your boss.
You do great, man. Yeah. Right. I feel good.
And I'm not your boss,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, it's one of those deals where it's like, that's where I come from, and that's, I think, just maturity in my own way, in my own career even, and, where I'm at. And it's cool to be at that, because I'm not done yet. I've got a lot of years I've still got to work, and, that's where I feel like I've got a lot to offer still,
So do I. I got tons of years I have to work. I got sober 35, so I didn't really have a 401k or anything going on. But it's cool. Thank you, Chris, for joining us on the Progress Not Perfect. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. Right? Fuck.
Progress, not perfection.
Yeah. I came up with the name. I should know it. It's an AA saying.
You want to start over?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I want to thank you, Chris, for joining us on the Progress Not Perfection podcast. You an amazing guest. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys asking me to come here. I think it's a huge honor, and this is like something that this year it's a huge goal of mine to put myself out there and convey messages and then back the recovery community. And I think there's no better place than here. So thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you. And as always, if anyone is struggling, please call Genesee County's Quick Response Team at 810-624-1177. 24-hour peer support.